Hello, this is Mrs. Huntley. This is the third video from the Pythagorean Theorem packet that should have a front cover looking something like this. And I'd like you to turn right now to the next lesson, which is the Pythagorean Theorem and its converse. Remember, I asked you to number the pages, so this should be on or about page 6. And at the top, it should say Pythagorean Theorem converse, and I'd like you to add the essential question, what is the Pythagorean Theorem and its converse? So as I was getting prepared to record this lesson, I realized that we never actually took the time to define some key words, some key academic vocabulary. And I remember back when I was in 8th grade, sometimes it was the vocabulary that really messed me up because I wasn't exactly sure what they were talking about. So if we turn back one page to page 5, the bottom of the homework page, let's go ahead and define theorem. In mathematics, a theorem is a statement that can be demonstrated to be true by accepted mathematical operations and arguments. And the process of showing a theorem to be correct is called a proof. And we're going to be dealing with proofs for the next few weeks in like our geometry section of our math course. So we also need to know what the converse is. So if you look at this word, you might look at it and pronounce it converse. And if you're conversing with someone, it means you're speaking with them. But in math, the converse, the accent is on the front part of the word. The converse means the opposite. So if a theorem is a statement that can be demonstrated to be true, its opposite means we're going to be going in both directions with it being true. And I'll explain what that means in just a minute. So go ahead and finish copying down these definitions. You can, of course, use a shorthand if that's easier for you. And then we're going to turn back to our lesson page, page 6. Or again, if you numbered a little bit differently, it might be a different page number, but at the top it should say Pythagorean Theorem converse. So the converse of a statement switches the order of the if and the then in the statement. So a theorem is a statement that can be proven to be true, and we're just going to practice with a couple of other statements here. So if we're talking about a triangle with 3 equal sides, then it's called equilateral. The converse of that would be if a triangle is equilateral, then it has 3 equal sides. Now this is different from the Pythagorean theorem. This is talking about equilateral triangles. We're just using a couple of other examples. The second example, if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. And then the converse would be if a number is divisible by 2, then it is even. See how it's just kind of switching the order in which the words come. So this one starts with a number being even, then it's divisible by 2, and this says if a number is divisible by 2, then it is even. So if we know that if a triangle is a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared is going to equal c squared. We're using this reasoning, the converse of the Pythagorean theorem would be if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then the triangle is a right triangle. And you might be going, well, that's just, semantics. It depends on how you say things. We actually can use the Pythagorean theorem to determine whether or not a triangle is a right triangle. So the converse helps us prove whether or not triangles are right triangles. So let me show you what I'm talking about. In example number 1 here, I've got 13 feet on one side. Nope, I just lost my pen. There it is. Okay. I've got 13 feet on one side here. I've got 84 feet up here, and I've got 85 feet here. So this looks like it's going to be the right angle, and if that's true, then this would be my hypotenuse. But the other way I could tell which side is the C side, the one that matters, is the one that's going to have the largest number, because we already said the hypotenuse is always going to be the longest side. So if we're trying to prove whether or not this is a right triangle, I'm going to use my Pythagorean theorem. That's my a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to need my calculator for this one because I know we don't have 84 or 85 on our square root chart. So I'm going to set this up just to be 13 squared plus 84 squared. Does that equal 85 squared? So right now this is a question mark. We don't know if the two sides of the equation equal each other. So I'm going to grab a calculator right now, figure out what the left side of this equation equals. So 13 squared we can get off of our chart, and that is one, or we should have memorized it by now, and that's going to be 169. 84 squared, using my calculator, is 7,056. And does that equal 85 squared is going to be 7,225. So when I add together 169 plus 7,056, I get 7,225, and that does equal 7,225. So yes, this is a right triangle. And I can put that little square in the corner because now I know it is definitely a right triangle. Okay, the next one. Again, this looks like it's probably my right angle. This is definitely my longest side, so I know this is going to be my C side. Why don't you go ahead and set up for the Pythagorean theorem to see if we can prove whether or not this one is a right triangle. I'm going to give you a second or two to get ahead of me. Okay, the way I'm going to set it up, 15 squared plus 12 squared. Does that equal 21 squared? I don't know. Let's see, 15 squared is going to be 225. 12 squared, of course, is 144. Oops, that should be plus. And 21 squared is 441. So does 225 plus 144 equal 441? So 225 plus 144, I've got 369, and that does not equal 441. So what does that mean? It means it is not a right triangle. Okay. Since the left side of my equation, this is just a little, you're not going to need to know this for an assessment or anything, but I just wanted to tell you. Since this side of the equation is less than this side of the equation, it actually means that it's an acute angle. This is less than 90 degrees here. If this side were greater than this side, then that would mean it's an obtuse angle, and this would be larger than 90 degrees. Again, that's not something you need to know for this class. I'm just giving you a sprinkling of something that you're going to need to know in future classes. Why don't you go ahead and see if you can set up number 3 right now. And again, the longest side is always your C side. So if I've got 30 feet, 15 feet, and 45 feet, I know this one is going to be my C side. The other two sides are interchangeable. It doesn't matter whether you start with 30 squared or 15 squared. So go ahead and set this one up.
Mr. Flynn, please call the main office. Mr. Flynn, please call the main office.
Okay, I'm going to give you a minute or two to get ahead of me. Not quite a minute or two, maybe a few more seconds. This way you're checking your work, you're not just copying from me. So please try to get ahead on number 3. I'll set this one up. It's going to be 30 squared plus 15 squared. Does that equal 45 squared? Did you set it up the same way? Okay. 30 squared is 900. 15 squared is going to be our 225 again. And 45 squared is 2025. So now I'm going to add together the left side of the equation, 900 plus 225, and that equals 1,125. That does not equal 2,025. So it is not a right triangle. Go ahead and set up number 4. See if we can prove whether or not that is a right triangle. First of all, identify which one is the C side. Okay, this is going to be our C side. So does 18 squared plus 24 squared equal 30 squared? Again, that is our question. Oops, I forgot the square there. So 18 squared is, sorry, I forgot that one, 324. 24 squared is 576. And 30 squared, we learned in our last one, is 900. So 324 plus 576, what does that equal? It equals 900, and 900 equals 900. So yes, this is a right triangle. So I can put that little square in the corner. Okay, let's move on to the next page. So what do we do if we're not given a drawing? Well, we know the hypotenuse, the C side, is always the largest number. So out of 12, 24, and 36, 36 is going to be my C. So the proof, does 12 squared plus 24 squared equal 36 squared? I don't know. Let me grab my calculator. Let's see, 12 squared, 144. 24 squared, oops, 24 squared is 576. 36 squared is 1,296. See, 144 plus 576, that equals 720. And that does not equal 1,296. So these guys are your question marks. So is it a right triangle? I would say no. Okay, go ahead and set up the next one, but be very careful when you're looking at it. Look at your numbers. Out of 16, 9, and 11, which is the largest number? And the largest number has got to be your C. Go ahead and see if you can set that one up. Okay, does 9 squared plus 11 squared equals 16 squared? Okay, 9 squared we know is 81. 11 squared is 121. And does that equal 16 squared, which is 256? 81 plus 121 is 202. 202 does not equal 256, so it is not a right triangle. Okay, go ahead and see if you can set up the next one. Again, watch the numbers. Pick the largest one to be your C side. Okay, so the way I set it up, 20 squared plus 21 squared, does that equal 29 squared? So go ahead and square up your numbers. See what you come up with. Don't just copy from me, get ahead of me. Did you get the same thing I got? So when we add 400 plus 441, we're going to get 841, and 841 equals 841, so yes, this is a right triangle. Now the last one, don't let the last one throw you, because we just have a couple of decimals thrown in there. So you're still looking for the largest number. So out of 12.5, 7.5, and 10, which one is the largest? And that's going to be your hypotenuse. That's going to be your C side. So go ahead and set up the equation the way we've been doing. You can use a calculator, so the numbers shouldn't be that difficult to figure out the square on. Get ahead of me. Did you set it up the same way? If you had 10 squared plus 7.5 squared equals 12.5 squared, that's fine, as long as your longest side is your C side. So 7.5 squared, I get 56.25. 10 squared, of course, is 100. And 12 squared, or 12.5 squared, I'm sorry, is going to be 156.25. Oh, so 56.25 plus 100 is going to be 156.25. And that does equal 156.25. So yes, this one is again a right triangle. Okay, so now we have a couple of problems where we're going to have to, they're story problems. So let's figure this out. Jimmy thinks a window frame in his house looks slanted because the corner doesn't appear to be a 90-degree angle. His wife thinks it looks just fine. They measured the window to check and found the width to be 25 inches and the height to be 36 inches and the diagonal distance to be 45 inches. Who is correct, Jimmy or his wife? So let's go ahead and draw a picture of this really quick in case you're not understanding what we're looking at. So we're looking at a window frame. It's a rectangular window frame. And one side, the width is 25, and oh, I should do the other way. Okay, so they're saying the width is 25, and the height is 36, and the diagonal is 45. So that diagonal, that 45, that's going to be my C side. So we'd set this up as 36 squared plus 25 squared. Does that equal 45 squared? I'm going to have you, because we're starting to run tight on time, I'm going to have you work that one out and determine who's right, Jimmy or his wife, and we'll check it in class next time. Next one, Patty wants a triangular garden in her backyard for all of her vegetables. She's going to use 3 pieces of fencing that measure 7 feet, 10 feet, and 8 feet. Will her garden be in the shape of a right triangle? Why or why not? So again, remember the longest side is going to be your C side. So will 7 squared plus 8 squared equal 10 squared? Will that be a right triangle garden? So go ahead and see if you can figure that one out. And again, we'll check it in class tomorrow. The last one. The perimeters of 3 squares are shown below. Could the 3 squares be positioned so that they form to make a right triangle? Why or why not? Well, the perimeter is the distance all the way around. So the length of this side plus the length of this side plus the length of this side plus the length of this side is going to be 48. So the way you figure out one side is going to be to divide that by 4. So 48 divided by 4 is 12. So one side length of this little triangle is 12. And these are feet, I guess. The one in the middle, 140. So grab your calculator real quick and plug in 140 divided by 4. Divided by 4, and that's going to be 35. And the largest one, 148 divided by 4, is going to be 37. Oh, I don't want to put squared yet. 37 feet. So again, the longest side is going to be your C side. We're going to set this up as 12 squared plus 35 squared Does that equal 37 squared? So go ahead and work that one out and see if the left side of the equation is going to equal the right side of the equation. We just turned 20 minutes, so I'm going to conclude the video here. In the video, we covered what the Pythagorean theorem is. That's our a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if you have a triangle where a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then you have a right triangle. If you do not have if the a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared, then it is not a right triangle. I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a good night.